Good evening. My name's Trina Powers. I'm here with Black and Pink Providence, and I'm reading on behalf of D Jensen, who couldn't be here tonight. Good afternoon. My name is D Jensen. I'm here representing my family and friends of Rhode Island and on behalf of my nephew, Mario Montero, an inmate at the ACI serving 2 life sentences. I'm testifying in support of 5333. I want to thank Chairperson Craven and the House committee members for this opportunity to speak today. The House has before them very important proposed legislation that would provide a parole hearing for everyone sentenced to life as a youth under the age of 18 after serving 15 years. These hearings are opportunities for a very skilled parole board to assess a person's progress, but does not guarantee release. The United States Supreme Court determined that life without parole violates a juvenile offender's constitutional right under the 8th Amendment to be free from cruel and unusual punishment. The Rhode Island Supreme Court has affirmed this. We believe that by passing this bill, the House will help Rhode Island get out from under the shadow of fear created decades ago and still today, and enact legislation that will safeguard the rights of a juvenile. The shadow of fear that I am talking about is the state demon known as Craig Price. Late in the 80s, a 15-year-old Craig Price began a calculated process of committing multiple murders. At the time of Craig Price's conviction, the law was that the maximum sentence a juvenile offender could receive was detention at the training school until his 21st birthday. This bill is not the same law. Public outcry at Price's release spurred Rhode Island lawmakers to amend the state juvenile sentencing to permit juvenile offenders of any age to be waived into adult court and to be subject to adult sentencing, including life sentence without parole. Juveniles are at a significant disadvantage in the criminal proceedings, weighing long-term consequences, impulsive decisions, and reluctance to trust defense counsel. Having a limited understanding of the criminal justice system, not equipped to deal with police or prosecutors, and therefore cannot effectively assist in their own defense. Think about this. Youth are not treated as having the same capacity as adults when it comes to entering into contracts, to vote, to marry, or to leave school. Yet they are presumed fully responsible as an adult for purposes of criminal process. They can plead guilty, go through complicated legal proceedings, and be sent to prison to die, without any regard to their age or diminished capacity. My nephew, Mario, trusted no one. He was immature. On the day his court trial began, he was offered a deal. Plead guilty, serve 22 years, and be on probation for 28. Today, as a more mature and educated man who has remorse for what he did and takes responsibility, he would be out in 5 years. Back then, under the stress of the legal proceedings, being a rebellious youth, rejecting everyone and everything, he made the wrong choice. Unfortunately, juveniles, like adults, commit horrible crimes and make terrible mistakes. They should be held accountable, but in accordance with their age, stage of development, and greater capacity for rehabilitation. A sentence of life in prison is excessively harsh for such a young person, many of whom were themselves victims of abuse or neglect. Over the last few years, I am constantly frustrated by articles and comments I see online and in the Journal from the former AG office. Quote, I am cautioning legislators to keep in mind the Craig Price murders and, quote, any juvenile defender who finds themselves facing lengthy sentences are truly the most dangerous in our society, unquote. Would Mario have been offered his deal of serving 22 years if he was the most dangerous in our society? You can't compare Craig Price to my nephew, Mario Montero. The statements we hear about Craig Price are used by non-supporters to regenerate the fear over and over again. Rhode Island fears moving into the right legislation, but must get out from under this shadow of fear. By enacting legislation that will safeguard the rights of juvenile offenders, Rhode Island would join 19 other states which now ban this sentencing. Rhode Island's motto is hope. Eliminating life without parole will give every juvenile offender hope that one day they will be given the opportunity to demonstrate to the parole board the maturity and rehabilitation required to obtain parole release. Please vote to bring this bill out of committee and to the floor. Thank you, D Jensen.